Hey guys, Weiss Schwarz here. This time we're going to give you another deck profile, but we're going to do Persona 4 this time. Not a lot of people play Persona 4 over here in North America, and if they do, they all pretty much do a kind of similar build to this one. I am missing, I believe, 3 of the cards, so they are going to be empty sleeves. But this is going to be green and red. We're going to say it's a Yukiko Chie kind of emphasis, but has a lot of tech cards with other characters because they're pretty good for the colors. We're going to kick it right off. Sounds good. All right. So we're going to start off with 2 Showbiz People Rize. It's a 00500. Pretty much the only point of this card is to tap out your opponent's back row if they don't. So her ability is you can tap one of your characters to tap one of your opponent's characters. So this includes herself, meaning you can tap her and you can choose another one of your opponents. Like I said, majority, you're just going to be tapping your opponent's back row because they're going to be attacking you anyway. So there's no need to tap out their front row, unless they're really kind of playing against you purely for the deck. This is really important. A lot of other card effects within the deck require your opponent's cards, all of them, to be tapped. So this is important for later on, and so keep that in mind. Your other effect is on play, you can bond. I believe bond. It's been a while since I've played this deck. Yep, in your waiting room. There we go. Okay. From your waiting room, you can grab an event called King's Game. I run 2 of them in the deck. Here's King's Game. It's a 1/1 event, and what it does is you play it, you take a card from your clock, add it to your hand, take top damage to replace what you took, and then if all of your opponent's cards are tapped, you put this into stock. So it's a free stock. Well, it's a free card. The only downside to this card is if you take that top damage and it is a climax card, there's nothing you can do about that. But, you know, some people might beg to differ. It's better you put it there than put it over in your stock. But, hey, it kind of depends on where you're at in the game. It's a great level 1 card. You know, get you a little bit closer to 2 if you're feeling like you want to get to 2. This deck actually has quite a bit of level 2 plays. But this is level 1, still just consider that, and it bonds with this card. You're mainly going to use her other ability for tapping out your opponent's cards, but this is still there, and I like to take advantage of that. Alright, so next for level 0s, I think Persona has some of the best brainstormers in the game, because you don't have to tap everything for them. This brainstorm specifically, which is the Aegis one, is you can tap her, pay 1, so just only herself for a brainstorm. For each climax revealed, take a card in your clock, return it to hand, and then take top damage for that card you took. So you are able to pretty much, there's a lot of thinking in this game where if you believe you're going to hit a climax for your brainstormer, you know you're going to hit one, then you can clock yourself specific cards so you can take exactly what you want while still getting your draws from actually clocking. The other reason why you run this card is because if she's the only card on the field, she becomes a 3/5. So, standalone, beater, you can definitely first turn this card. I run 2 of her just because it's great. We then have the better Brainstorm, in my opinion, which is just like the Silica Brainstorm. 500 less power, putting her at 2,000. Pay 1, tap only herself. For each climax revealed, you salvage a character. Pretty straightforward. Great Brainstorm in a bad situation. Other than that, next up we're going to run 2 Suiciders. These are pretty much basic Suiciders. As basic as you can get, 2,000 power, reverses level 0s. I run 2 of them. This card comes in the trial deck, so it's actually relatively easy to get. Next we run 2 of these unit number 024 drops. It's a 4K on play during only your turn when you play it. 4,000 power. Next, we're going to run the first type of our Japanese clothes keyword characters. These are important for later on in the game. And she's a Chie character. She's a 2/5 base, and when you attack with this card, or you're being frontal attacked, you can mill the top card of your deck, or is it mill or reveal? I believe it is just mill. Yes, you have to mill the top card of your deck. If it's a level 0, then she gains a level and 1,000 power, making her a 3/5 level 1, meaning you can get by level 0 Suiciders if you get that proc. Obviously, you don't run a lot of 0s in the deck. You don't want to flood your deck with 0s, but you run as many of those as you need to. Next up, we're kind of run. This is the bulk of level 0, which is 4 Yukiko Amagi's 2K base. She has a climax combo at level 0, which we do run. But her other effect is you can tap herself, so this is a back row card, give a Chie character 2,000 power. So even if you play this card and you tap her for her, you get 4/5 base. Eventually a 5/5 if you do get the proc. Her other effect with the Climax combo, you have to attack with her with it, and you have to pay 1 stock when the gate trigger is out on the field as well. 1k1, obviously, gate. We're only running 2 of these just because this combo isn't what you want, and the gates are kind of whatever. But you attack with her, pay 1 stock when this is on the field, and you search specifically for this Yukiko, which is a 2/2, 7k. On play, you get to tap one of your opponent's characters, which is good because okay, sorry. Let's get back. Say it. On play, tap one of your opponent's characters. Also, she gains 500 power for each of your opponent's tapped characters, which is why we're going to tap the enemy's back row with Rize that I showed earlier, so that we can get more power for Yukiko. She is a 2-soul base, so that's great. And the other reason why, the only reason why the 0/0 searches out for the 2/2 Yukiko is because if you have the 0/0 Yukiko on the field, you play this from hand. You can play this if you sack the 0/0 you have, you play her for free. You don't have to pay the 2 stock. So her Climax combo allows you to set up your hand and get that in your hand earlier. You don't necessarily have to do the Climax combo, but it is there in case you need it. If you really, really favor the Climax combo, I only run 2 of this girl because we do run other level 2 techs. You could easily bump her to 4, and there would be no harm, no foul, because most of the time you're going to play at least one of them for free by getting rid of your Yukiko. Before, obviously, playing over, I would recommend still using her ability and tapping for a Chie, which we will show out more Chies throughout the deck. That is going to be the level 0 game, along with the 2 climaxes, for a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16. Pretty standard number for 16 level 0s. Alright, next up, we're going to run 2 of the level 1, the 1/0 Yukiko. Once again, like the 2/2 version, on play, tap one of your opponent's characters. The other effect that she has, which is what she's kind of useful for, if you notice, she's a 1/0/3/5, relatively weak for level 1. But the reason being is because on play you can pay 1 to bond from the graveyard, or the waiting room, sorry. The 1/0 event Incredible Curry, or Inedible Curry, sorry. The reason why this card is valuable, and we're running 2 of them only, is because when you bond it with this card, you can get this to your hand. If you play this from your hand, you can select any one of your characters, not just her, but I like to choose her at level 1. You pick any of your characters, and it becomes a suicider for its own level and lower, meaning if you use this on a level 3, you can kill level 3s suiciding into them, no matter what. The additional effect is, if you use the event when all of your opponent's characters are tapped, you then also get to take 1 card from your opponent's waiting room and put it on top of their deck, meaning you're going to guarantee that first hit knowing it's not a climax. You can always still use it late game, use it mid game, early game, doesn't matter. It's a great card. It's the reason I'm running it. You could also not run the Yukiko and just run the event by itself. I recommend just running the event because it's a level suicider for any level, and so I think that's really valuable. And the reason I run her is so that we can search it out without having to worry about, like, oh, I don't have the card in my hand. Well, you can get it, and that's what matters. This is kind of one of the meatier level 1s that I run. This is the 1/1 Chie, Future Policewoman Chie. She's a 6/5 base, and she is a 1/1. But the reason why she's a 1/1/6/5, she has hand on court. And that's what really matters. She's a Chie, so you can pump her up with your Yukikos, tapping for 2k, making her an 8/5. You can make her a suicider if you needed to. And the Chie really just allows for later on to have more Chies tapping for her. It's the only reason why we run out of 2 of. If you're running for a more Chie-focused deck, then I would definitely bump this card up to 4. But in our case, we aren't running purely for that kind of build, so we're not going to worry about it. We are going to run 2 just because it is a good card. The main combo that we're going to be running at level 0, or not level 0, I'm sorry, level 1, is the 1/0 Labrys. It's a 4/5. But on the turn that it's played from hand, it gains 1,500, making it a 6,000. This is our main climax combo that we're also running. I'm missing one, so we are going to use the sleeve. And I'm also missing one of the climaxes. Her climax combo is with Labrys's Wrath. Labrys's Wrath is a 2-soul climax, which I know a lot of people are kind of iffy about. As long as you use them correctly, they can be alright. I'm actually not a big fan of them myself, but I think this combo is too valuable to not run it. What the combo does is you have to have, obviously, one of her on the field, and when you play the climax card, not on attack, when you play the climax card, you have to pay 1 stock, you choose one of your opponent's character, and it gets a minus 4,000 power. This is important, mainly because she's free. This card's free, so it becomes a 6k, and if you minus any of your opponent's cards that say another level 1, there is no way that a backup is going to save that card. Unless it's obviously a backup that gets rid of the card. Other perk is if you hit level 1 first and you want to go for additional soul damage, let's say your opponent gets climax screwed in the beginning, you can use her minus 4,000 effect, that's say on one of your opponent's level 0s that are still on the field, and if it hits, and this is a rule for anyone in the game, if a card's power hits 0, it is immediately sent to the waiting room, meaning before you even attack, that card's going to die. It's always good. It's a cool play to do that. It's a great counter for Kantai Collection because a lot of their I can't remember which one it is, but one of the 0/0s, it's not on reverse, but when it's sent to on reverse, its effect activates. Well, this way you don't have to reverse those 0/0s, and the 4K is enough to kill it. All right, and it's 0 base. So let's say they have a card, they have a 0/0 that has 4,000 power, but let's say it gives 500 in front. Well, that 500 is only a bonus. You only have to minus that 4,000, which will still send it. But we run 4 of those, along with those 4 climaxes. And that's our level 1 game for 2, 4, 6, and 10. 10 total. Not too bad of a number. A lot of our game is probably going to come from level 2 as well, which not a lot of people like, but there's some really good cards in Persona for level 2. So I should also mention the King's Game is from the level 1 as well, so I guess we'll consider that 12. Next up, I like this card personally. You don't actually have to run this card. This would easily be replaced with 2 more Yukikos for the 2/2, but I love the utility of this card. Plus, it is a fan card, which is important for the level 3. 2/1, Soul Trigger, 7/5. And just like the old Chie that we showed earlier in Japanese Code and Yukata, on attack or when it's becoming frontaled, you can mill the top card of your deck as long as the card is level 1 or higher, which is the majority of the deck. This card gains 2,500 power, making it a 2/1 10k. On most of the time, you're going to get that trigger. That's just base. Great card. I really love it. Before I ran this card, I did run two more of these Yukikos, and it's just sometimes if you get clogged with these from searching them out, and then you lose your Yukiko Amagis, you're going to be spending a ton of stock just to play the 2/2 Yukiko, whereas this one's only 1 stock and can hit up that 10k, which is really valuable. So we run 2 of her, 2 of the Yukiko, and we're also going to be running 2 of the Yukiko. It's not really level assist. It only gives 1,000 power. It is global, though. It gives 1,000 power to any fan or Japanese. Yes, any fan or Japanese closed character. So that's important. All of your level 2s are fan or Japanese closed characters, except for one I'm going to show in a little bit. Not only that, you can tap her to tap another one of your characters, so you don't have a Rize at this point. I mean, I would much rather play this over a Rize, so this is great, and you can tap her just to tap one of your opponent's characters. And here's the other kicker. She changes into the level 3 that we're going to be running. We run 2 of her assist, and we run 2 of the level 3, which I'll show now, which is a 9/5. Bonus of this level 3 immediately. It has Hand on Core, so even if this thing dies, you can get it back just from ditching a card. Has no on-play effect, but whenever she attacks, for free, you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a Japanese closed or fan character, your opponent burns for 1 damage. So, on every attack, and you do mill that card. So it does suck if you do mill through a climax card, or it's better because if you're level 3 and you're getting close to your deck, you can get rid of those cards that aren't climax cards. Plus, you're going to do your trigger. Well, sorry, it's just a reveal, so the card you reveal will be your trigger. Changing into this level 2 is great. I love it. Additionally, with the change, and this goes for any change in Persona really, the change does not send it to the waiting room, it sends it back to your hand, meaning you can do this again next turn. If, let's say, or if you do the change and you return that to your hand, you also have Encore fodder in case something goes horribly wrong for your Yukiko at this point. So 2 more of those level 2s. We do only run 2 of these level 3s. I think they're great, don't get me wrong, but I have a much better one, which will be coming up, that I believe other people will like as well. And here it goes. These last, 8 cards all factor into this one level 3 in multiple different ways of approaching it. Run 2 of this 2-1 has a soul trigger and has 8k. It's another Labrys, and it has a long effect, and I don't know it word by word, so I am going to read it. It's really costly, but it's super effective if you get this out early into level 2. Okay. When you play this card from hand, so after you pay the 1 stock, if you pay an additional 3 stock, so it's for a total of 4, you put this card into memory. When you do, you take the level 3 that it turns into, which we are going to run 4 of, which is the Raging Bull Labrys. You take one of these from your hand, so it does take its prep from your hand. You put it on any position to your stage. Then, at the beginning of your next draw phase, this card that you did the change with, returns to your stage on any position you want. So, what that means is, early on at level 2, you're going to, if you want to use her effect, and you have one of these in your hand, at level 2, you can pay the 4 stock, 1 to play, 3 additionally, send it to memory, play this from hand, heal on play, and during your next draw phase, the card you sent to memory will come back. So, very costly, but very effective. It's the reason we keep it at a 2 of. This card is also a great replacement if you are not a fan of this change effect. And I won't disagree. It's very rare that I get this effect off, but the games that I do get it off, I have never lost. And I mean, I don't really know the numbers on how many games I've played with this deck, but that's how powerful this effect can be at level 2 really early on. But like I said earlier, if you prefer this change way more, and I have quite a few friends that do prefer this, or the being able to play the 2-2 for free and having this really strong card, you can easily drop these 2 instead if you wanted to keep the this combo, the 2-1. Instead, you can easily drop these 2 for another of those 2-2 Yukikos. Just keep the level 2 count. I believe it where I'm going to keep it at. It's going to be pretty good. So that's enough of that card, because now we're going to focus on this level 3, which will be all the level 3s we run. We run 6. So heal on play, like I said. Additionally, this is your clock shooter of the set. It takes a lot of prep for the clock shoot, but it's worth it, obviously, if you get it off. And once again, if you can get this off at level 2, then you're using a clock shooter level 2. You have to have the climax combo for it, obviously. It is a gold bar, and that's the only reason why I'm running 2 of them. I'm not a big fan of gold bars, but since it is a gold bar, I don't feel like you need to run more than 2 for this combo. Specifically because if you trigger it, you have that gold bar in your hand, and you can wait and save it for this specific moment when playing this, or even 2 of them. Not only do you need the gold bar, but when you attack, this is on attack, I believe. Right, pay 1, level 2. Okay, no, it's on reverse, so you're going to get the stock after you've already triggered when you attack with her. So it's on the reverse. You have to pay that 1 of a level 2 or higher. Correct. Yeah, level 2 or higher. So there's a lot of requirements, but the clock shoot is obviously worth it. Clock shooters in every single set, if you can find a way to run them, are always usually pretty good. So I just run 2 of the climaxes to go with it, making us at an 8 count, putting us also at a 6 count for the level 3. But once again, at level 2, you can use 4 of the cards to change into all the level 3s. Obviously, this one's really stock intensive, but if you save your stock, so if you save all your stock because not having to pay the stock cost for her, then you're gonna have that. You're gonna have all that. And so if you're not level 3, but you still want to play your Labrys, if you can get your hands on her, you can play the Labrys with the additional cost. Heal at level 2, and everything just starts to snowball, especially if you have the climax. But that's pretty much it. This was one of the first decks I made with my Persona 4 set, and I fell in love with it. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty great. It is pretty tricky to use. And I only recently have I really started to appreciate this deck because of all the stuff that it has against like the current meta of Kantai Collection. When you run into the anti-heals and anti-salvages, they can get really tricky. seeing as how this deck doesn't really salvage aside from the 2 gate triggers, it's pretty nice. Especially if you are worried about saying like there's zeros that on reverse you have to get there. Then the Labrys combo, minus 4K. Some of the strong 1/1, that one strong 1/1 yellow card from Contact Collection, which I'm blanking on its name right now, that has Encore, minus 4K. Shimikaze, if you really need to get over it, minus 4K. Level 2s, minus 4K. Level 3s, minus 4K. Like there's that combo can be played really well throughout the entire game. Once again, you just have to know, and that's the only downside that I think of this deck, aside from not having a lot of searching and not a lot of salvaging, aside from your brainstorms, you do have to watch out for the 2 Soul Climaxes and when to use it effectively. But that's pretty much it. Feel free to comment and like this video. I'll definitely respond. There's so much you can do with Persona, specifically with red and green, that a lot of personal preferences do take into effect. And so I've shown you mine. Feel free to share yours with me, and I'll give you my feedback. Why not? I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you have a nice day. This is Weiss Schwarz going out.